Um, yeah, here we are in that new idea of walking with Him to certainty, and you know perfectly well, and that is also what the Course in Miracles at the beginning of every new year emphasizes in that beginning, new beginning of the mind training, that the human condition is uncertain, and it is uncertain about what it believes it is, and it is uncertain about everyone in his mind. It is uncertain about outcomes as they present themselves in one's own mind, and it is uncertain about the truth. It is uncertain about that contact with Source, with God. It is uncertain about everyone and everything. It is really an amazing condition, isn't it? And yet we know that everything has been given us, and perfection is what creation is, and nothing is missing or would need to be missing. And yet, uncertainty is the natural product of what human mind makes up, and becomes really the human's experience. And uncertainty is really just the beginning, because from here the road down to depression, all types of fear, all ideas of death, um, manifesting and showing up. And yeah, actually demonstrate or show how what bondage in separation is. That feeling of not being free, that feeling of not being whole, that feeling of being imprisoned in the body, in a condition that in truth, once you made it into this room, once you made it to A Course in Miracles, once you made it to a contact personally with Christ, you can just laugh and say, it's of course I don't want to have any of that. Of course I will not be content and happy with the limitation of any whatever fear thought. Of course I want to experience myself in total freedom, and that has to be a joyful extension of mind, an extension and a giving of what we know is unifying in the entire universe, and cannot not be already in everyone and in all. And individually, we are struggling maybe lifetimes with that, and seeking, searching in every corner of the world, in any possible offer, and getting deceived or deluded or trapped in any possible way, and also making experiences of, okay, that's not it, then what is it? And coming finally to a very personal, intimate connection, contact within our own heart and soul and mind, that shows us that by this action of listening, there is a voice in our own mind, a voice that speaks for God and that directs us perfectly well to what I call here certainty, to a certainty about what I am, what we are in God, in creation itself, to a certainty that there is only one love, that there's only one reality, and that cannot possibly have another, an opposite, anything besides it. It has to be whole, it has to be singular, it has to be one, it has to be what it is, always was, always will be. And that is my welcome to this new series of walking with Him to certainty, because it is the need of the human consciousness to experience itself as whole, as perfect, as healed, as one with God. And of course, I will not give you a definition of God or a nice story about him as an old man with a long beard or whatever. I will let you and allow you to have your own experience. And whatever is unified thought and experience for you, that is actually what God is for you, how God shows up in you, as you, for you. So we will never arrive by defining God and giving him certain characteristics within conceptual mind. We will only be happy in the experience with him. And that can and should and has to be this very moment now. And that is really my welcome and my invitation, and already the demonstration how this Course in Miracles works throughout all its parts, from the textbook to the workbook lessons to the answers of the teacher's manual, the manual for teachers, answering questions, to the very end, which we will touch, in which basically Jesus gives us the conclusion of where we are at in our mind, in any aspect at any time with this Course in Miracles, and that it works when we allow it to work, that it works because it works from outside of this time frame, because a higher power is at work, a grace works me, works us. And we are in that understanding really just the receivers of what we call a miraculous occurrence, a miraculous reversal of thought, what we make them as the source of our own giving. But it is first the recognition and the receiving it and the clarity that something has been given and established, that we are, that I am, and I could not change, not even making utmost attempts to deny the truth and to want my illusions, my dreams be true and real, and defending them as a reality. And that is exactly also the emphasis in those first lessons, but particularly the first 34 lessons, 35 lessons, where Jesus literally hammers on our mind to acknowledge any part of our perceptual kingdom, our realm of perception, which includes sensory organs, the eyes, particularly what we see. He's always mentioning what we see and gives us the examples and invites us to practice with objects around us and not making any difference of any kind, of any order how we establish it, but simply apply the lesson so that we come to a clear recognition of its meaninglessness, that we come to a clear sense of the nothingness that we made of ourselves and made up a world of 1 trillion expressions, but those are 1 trillion of expressions of nothingness, and guides us towards seeing and finding what the eyes cannot see, what the ears cannot hear, what cannot be part of perceptual, sensory processing at all. And that is the invitation now. So thank you so much for being here. And I'm just gonna have here a quick transition before we continuing and looking also at some texts of the epilogue in this class, in this first episode. And if you want to continue participating, please stay with me on Spreaker.com. If you're just here with that video on YouTube, and just tune into the voice from heaven, into this class, walking with Him to certainty. Thank you. I love you. I'm glad you're here.